Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be talking about my top 5 things that have made my home brewing journey a more comfortable one and perhaps a more robust one. This is an idea that was started by Jimbo, Jimbo's Homebrew, so check out his YouTube channel. He's always a good one to watch, entertaining to say the least. But let's get started. Now, there have been quite a few people have done their top 5s already, and one thing I will say is there are going to be overlaps and there are going to be similarities, because there are some things in homebrew that they're like eureka moments, and it's almost like everyone has them. First one is controlling the temperature of your fermentation. When you start controlling, keeping your yeast fermenting in the key ranges that they are designed to or bred to operate under, it makes the beer taste exactly as intended. Now, we've all had issues with brewing in the summer, brewing in the winter, trying to keep it warm, trying to keep it cold. Temperature controlled fermentation is absolutely key to good, consistent homebrew. I'm not saying you can't brew without it. It just gives you more control over that part of the process, which is a very important part of the process. So let's dive into my bar, and we'll have a look at some of my favorite things. Okay, so on this side of my bar, I have my temperature controlled fermentation chamber. There's a fermenter in there. It's currently fermenting. Because it's under pressure, I can go slightly warmer, and I'm fermenting this at 23.5 degrees Celsius. This, I have got them off Gumtree. I used to have a tall fridge, if you remember that. I could get 2 fermenters in. Just the way the space worked in here with the man cave, we ended up going for a chest freezer, and I can only really do 1 fermenter at a time, but that is okay. That's fine. Second favorite thing is the delivery of the beer. You might not think this is such a big thing, but once you've bottled a few batches of beer, you will eventually get to the point where you're so sick of cleaning bottles and sanitizing bottles and priming and bottling and hoping that you get the carbonation levels right and you get the right amount of priming sugar and blah blah blah. Then you've got to wait another 2 weeks while it carbs up and while it matures. And anyway, number 2 is the keezer. Now I've taken the lid off just for the sake of this video, but I have a 4-keg keezer. I've got my 4 kegs in there. I've built the wooden collar so I can get that keg in on the step, and I use it to store my hops and my yeast as well. That you can keg a beer and drink it, especially if you've used my third favorite option, which is pressurized fermentation. So that fermenter, I bought it from Brew to Bottle. It's the King Keg Chubby, and life's always better when you have a chubby, I think is how they market that, and I think that is factually correct. So I'm currently pressurized fermenting this at around 15 psi is what I was aiming for. What I am doing is I'm slowly releasing the pressure, because the one downside of a pressurized fermenter is the dry hop. So I have to dry hop this batch, and I don't know, I'm going to need to get some kind of an ice spindle or something as well, so I know what the gravity's at. Then I can open this, do the dry hop, and then repressurize that using my CO2. So it is my third favorite thing, well, one of my top 5. I don't think there's really much of an order apart from the fermentation chamber. Because once you've got the beer in there, it's as long as you've done your sanitizing and you've got everything sanitary, you are able to keep it clean. Nothing's going to get in there. You're not going to get oxygen. It's not going to get oxidized. It's not going to get infected. It's a sealed unit. And you transfer that into a keg as well. So you take the spunding valve off, put it on the outpost for the keg, on the gas post, sorry. and then you connect the beer line from the fermenter to the beer line for the keg, and then you put CO2 pressure onto the fermenter, and as you spun, it will transfer under pressure and already slightly carbonated beer. If you've cold crashed, which I normally always would do, you're also transferring it cold, so you could literally just pour a beer once you're finished. There is of course some aging that has to take place, but what I mean is the beer is ready to go, whereas bottling, it's never going to be ready without waiting the 2 weeks. Okay, so that was 1, 2 and 3. Let's get this closed up and I will talk about 4 and 5. Okay, so my first 3 that I've given you are all stored inside my bar, and you can see here these are the 4 taps that deliver my beer. So on to number 4. Number 4 is something I've always been very passionate about. It's something that it's not even just about brewing, it's about having a space. And this is it, the man cave. This is my second iteration. For anyone who's followed my channel for a while, I did build one at my last house as well, but this one is like the Mark II version, so all the stuff that was missing in the last one, like drainage, a toilet, a basin, proper electrics, are here in this, and it's a space for me to brew. I've got my brew bench over there. I've got underneath the brew bench I store all of my stuff. So yeah, this space, like I know, you see everyone's got their space, and every space is sort of slightly different. I think Jimbo, who did this, the top 5, he started this top 5 video chain, whatever you call it, and he brews, it looks like a lean-to on the side of the house, but that looks like that's pretty much what that area is used for. That's his brewing area. So it's good to have a space where you can, you're in control of the area. I used to brew in the kitchen before I did my first man cave, and it's just, the house smells, and it's the condensation, and then carting stuff in and out, and then you can't clean stuff in the man cave. You've got to clean it in the kitchen, and so it's nice. Like all my brewing's out here. It doesn't get underfoot, and it's my space. So the 5th point was a lot of people were talking about community, and while it's a great thing, I'm off Facebook now, I only use YouTube anymore, but I think using recipes is probably my 5th. Yes, most of them come from the community or whatever, but so I use Beersmith, my brewing software. It's a very, very nice tool, and it almost made it into my top 5. But that's my recipe management. Recipes themselves. Now, I know a lot of people were looking at this book specifically, which I think they call the Bible. But yeah, look, it's a great book. It's got nice base recipes, so you can experiment. You can use the base recipes like the malt bills and the bitterness, aim for the same bitterness but use different hops or different yeasts, things like that. But I think there's more to life than just this book. There's the Brewdog, there's the Brewdog book, which has got some great recipes in it. There is like the Beersmith Cloud, where you make recipes. So I think I got my Bell's Two Hearted recipe off there, and that's one of my favorite recipes, and it was just a dude who cloned the Bell's Two Hearted and got it close enough, and then basically everyone goes on and they rate, if they brew it, they rate the beer, and yeah, so it's handy. The problem with the book is once it's written, there's no updates, there's no change, and actually there are some errors in this book. So it's a great resource if you're learning to homebrew. It's got some pretty simple explanations of how things work, which is handy, but I don't think you limit yourself to one book. I think the internet is the place where you find the best recipes, because it's a malleable form of communication. It's something that can change and progress over time, unlike a book, which once it's printed, that is it. So like as things change, perhaps like New England IPAs come in, and you go to your book and you're like, well, you know, that book was written before New England IPAs were a thing, or things like that. So the recipes, don't think, it's something I thought was, you go on your homebrew journey, you do a couple of kits, and then you go, I'm going to make, you know, I'm going to just make my own recipes, I'm going to do it all myself. And I don't know if it's an element of pride that pushes you to do that. It did with me. I was very much keen on doing my own beers. And while I did do a few good ones, I just don't know why I didn't copy other recipes from other people. I mean, there's no like hunt for the holy grail or anything. You know, it's not like I'm going to start my own brewery if I find the perfect recipe. What I want is nice beer that's easy to drink, tasty, and sometimes that is close to a commercial beer that I like. So like the Goose Island, I like there's a clone recipe for that. Neck Oil, one of my favorites, and the Flag and Fez, I think it's Clive Cutter from the Flag and Fez. He has a beautiful neck oil recipe, so go check his channel out as well. But yeah, that in short, or probably with a bit of waffling, that's my top 5. So I hope you guys have a lovely Sunday afternoon, and I think it's nearly time to go to the pub. Keep it brewing!